It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon.
Toho was on a roll, remaking all their classic monsters. First King Ghidorah, then Mothra, and now Mechagodzilla, not to mention Rodan and Godzilla's son, too. The title is usually referred to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, even though it would actually be the third movie to feature Mechagodzilla, but this is the second time the character's been introduced. The interesting thing was that before, Godzilla was the good guy and Mechagodzilla was the bad guy, but now the roles have been reversed. 2 films prior to this, Godzilla and Ghidorah fell into the ocean, so now they lift the robotic armor from Ghidorah out of the ocean and use it to create Mechagodzilla to defend the people of Earth from Godzilla. When comparing this Mechagodzilla to the old one, I have conflicting opinions. On one hand, I like the fact that this one actually looks like it's made of metal. It has that shiny finish opposed to that old dull look of the last one. But the new one has that dopey expression on its face. The old one actually looked mean, so yeah, I prefer the classic Mechagodzilla. So a team of scientists find an egg which holds a baby Godzilla. Rodan comes in and tries to eat it, but Godzilla defends his son. Godzilla and Rodan never got along too well. The humans take the egg, it hatches, and a new baby Godzilla is born. Then Godzilla comes to destroy the city, and they turn Mechagodzilla loose. So Mechagodzilla blasts Godzilla with his Mega Buster, laser cannon, plasma grenades, paralyzer missiles, and shocks him with an anchor. Godzilla gets fucked up pretty good. Fortunately, Godzilla is able to reverse the shock and cripple Mechagodzilla. But you can't guess what happens next. Yeah, they send out the army tanks. Will they never understand that tanks don't do jack shit to Godzilla? It's the equivalent of touching your hand to a hot stove over and over. Just give it up already. The humans do a bunch of experiments on the baby and find out that he has another brain up his ass. Nah, just kidding, it's in his tail. So they assume that Godzilla does too, and they plan to use this knowledge to gain an advantage. Also, this baby Godzilla looks pretty good, like a small reptile. Way better than Minya from Son of Godzilla. Minya looks so stupid in comparison. There's a scene where Rodan flies over the Magic Kingdom in Disney World. Too bad he didn't stop off and take a shit all over Space Mountain. Anyway, soon after, Rodan and Mechagodzilla go at it, and Mechagodzilla beats the shit out of him. Afterwards, Godzilla comes back to fight, but Mechagodzilla combines with another weapon and turns into Super Mechagodzilla. In the original ending, Godzilla died and the son lived on, but instead they saved that ending for Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Overall, this is probably my second favorite Godzilla movie from the second series. It's a good one.
It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon.
Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla begins with scientists who are making a giant robot nicknamed Mothra, just a big dumb-looking robot that makes me think of Mechagodzilla, except less cool. Mothra's first appearance was actually in The Mysterians in 1957. Mothra actually makes an appearance. You see, there's an explanation that somehow Godzilla's cells got carried on to Mothra when she flew into space, and that the cells went into a black hole and mutated as Space Godzilla. Now, as ridiculous as it sounds, I'll accept that, but they offer another explanation, that the cells came from Biollante, a creature spawned from Godzilla cells and plant cells, and that after fighting Biollante, the cells drifted up into space. I've never heard a movie give 2 elaborate explanations to anything like that, when one was clearly enough. Also, let's not forget that Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah altered the timeline and meant that Godzilla never existed until that movie, which means that there couldn't have been a Biollante since there were no Godzilla cells. Oh, I don't know, fuck it. Later, there's a team on Birth Island and they see baby Godzilla, who's now a little older and starting to look more like Minya from the old series.
Godzilla says that I should learn to fight my own battles, you know.
Of course, because he's the son of the king of the monsters, he has to look like a cute little Pillsbury Doughboy. What the hell? Then Godzilla comes out of the water and they shoot him in the back of the head with a mind control device, but that doesn't work at all. Next, Mothra comes in contact with Space Godzilla, who's on his way to Earth. Mothra gets his ass kicked. Yeah, the effects are still great, but some of this comes off as being rushed. There's even a scene where Godzilla's tail falls off. Also, Space Godzilla is just a really dumb name. So, Space Godzilla lands on Birth Island. Junior walks up to him like the dumb shit he is. Did he think Space Godzilla was his dad? Man, kid's no dick. Anyway, so Godzilla comes along and attempts to fight, but Space Godzilla kicks his ass and kidnaps his kid. You know, Gabber never even tried that. Space Godzilla's just a creep. Next, Space Godzilla fucks up a bunch of cities and then creates big huge-ass crystals that become his new fortress. So, Godzilla and Mothra head toward it to stop Space Godzilla and rescue the baby. When they arrive, Mothra shoots a bunch of shit at Space Godzilla. Missiles, chest lasers, and even does a screw attack. Yeah, not like Samus though. Space Godzilla is pretty powerful. He uses spikes from his fortress as missiles, and even has a shield to deflect Godzilla's atomic breath. The pilots find out that Space Godzilla is getting his energy from a large tower, which Godzilla and Mothra demolish. Then Godzilla and Mothra try to destroy the crystals in Space Godzilla's body, but he gets fucking pissed and he impales Mothra with his tail. They use the same idea in Metroid Prime when Samus is fighting the Omega Pirate boss. Samus has to blow off the shoulder crystals just like in this movie. Anyway, Godzilla ends up just killing Space Godzilla with the fire breath again, just the same way he did to Super Mechagodzilla. Overall, it's a good addition to the franchise, but not without its flaws.
It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon.
And so we come to the final Godzilla movie of the second series, Godzilla vs. Destroyer! While the second series was a great revival of the franchise, it was nice that they didn't let it drag on until it got stupid. And being that this was the 40th anniversary of Godzilla, Toho decided that this should be the last one, and so it came that Godzilla died. It was a big deal. It was like when Superman supposedly died, or when Beavis and Butthead were supposed to die, even though they didn't. But it was such a big deal that I remember hearing about it on the news. And this was in the USA, so what do we care? These movies weren't even being released here anyway. But still, the news of Godzilla's death heard around the world. But anyway, let's talk about the movie. It begins with one of the most incredible title screens ever. That's awesome. The opening scene depicts Godzilla attacking not Tokyo, but Hong Kong, in glowing red. What's wrong with him? Well, you remember how he was born from nuclear radiation? Well, his heart is a nuclear reactor and it's melting down. That's the actual explanation in the movie. I'm not kidding. This burnt form of Godzilla is also in the Nintendo Wii game, Godzilla Unleashed. So anyway, his heart is on the verge of atomic explosion that'll blow up the whole universe. Pretty fucking extreme. Next thing, there's all these creatures running around which look like a combination of a scorpion, the predator, and alien with the thing coming out of its mouth. Scenes like this where people are being attacked almost make you forget that you're watching a Godzilla movie and instead a B-horror movie. Well, all these creatures evolved from tiny organisms in the ocean. There's a scientific explanation how they were created by the Oxygen Destroyer, the weapon which killed the first Godzilla. It's a neat and appropriate way to tie the first movie with the last. So the monsters keep evolving until they all merge into one. The name of the monster, surprisingly, isn't Destroyer, it's Destroyer! Yeah, that's the official name, Destroyer! It's spelled just like that. Maybe because they couldn't trademark Destroyer, but I don't know. So they send out a plane and it freezes Godzilla. It's actually a pretty cool effect when his face freezes. And once again, they send out the army to fight the giant monsters. It's been 22 damn movies and they still don't get it? Give it up! Well, baby Godzilla's back this time, called Godzilla Jr., and this time he actually looks like Godzilla. And it's about time. Shouldn't he resemble his own father? He gets into a fight with the evolving Destroyer and actually beats him. Junior and Godzilla get together to celebrate, I guess, but then the final form of Destroyer makes his appearance. He looks like the goddamn devil. Destroyer grabs Junior and drops him into a building, then blasts it apart, basically killing him. He drags Godzilla all around and slices him up. It's actually pretty disappointing that Godzilla gets his ass kicked and that he never actually beats Destroyer. He sure fights back, but it's the army that ultimately takes him down. What the hell? After it's all over, Godzilla finally starts to melt down, but the army uses their freeze cannons to cool him down so the explosion doesn't kill everybody. Surprisingly, watching Godzilla die is pretty sad, but all the energy from his body goes into his son, who grows to full Godzilla size. I guess they were hinting at another Godzilla series following the son, but they never followed up on that idea. The credits roll over black and white stills from all the Godzilla movies. It makes you feel sentimental, it really does. Anyone who thought that this was the last Godzilla movie had no clue what was coming. He was only taking a 5-year rest. one thing left to say.
Destroyer!